Hey guys, Mustang here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are looking at the team building guide for the Universe 6 stage of Super Battle Road. This is another one that is a little bit more restrictive, kind of like the representatives of Universe 7, so we are going to end up talking about most of the TURs. But as always, this is my top picks and honourable mentions. If there's any units you think I missed or that we should have talked about in more detail, let me know in the comment section at the end of the video. So first up, we have the STR Kefla. I feel like she's going to be the main pick for people for the lead, just because she is a better unit overall than Hit. Obviously, she hasn't been back on a load. Has she been back at all, actually, yet, in fact? So I guess the main issue could be that not a lot of people will have her. But yeah, Universe 6 173 key. She infinitely stacks attack across all of her forms. She has a pretty decent level of defense at the start, and then of course one of her big things is if you can pick up 6 or more orbs, she does have a 50% chance to dodge. And then on turn 3 she'll transform into Super Saiyan, and then chances are you might get to the next turn, I guess, get to turn 5 and then see Super Saiyan 2. And then after that, can you use her active skill straight away? I think you can. Yeah, I believe you can as soon as she transforms. So one thing to bear in mind for this stage, there's a lot of units that we're going to be talking about that get special bonuses against Pure Saiyans or Universe Survival Saga enemies. They deliberately built this stage. Every single fight is against a Universe Survival Saga or a Pure Saiyan except for the last one. So the first two are going to be quite easy, even though there's a lot of enemies, because a lot of these units are going to be getting their full passives to activate. So Kefla is your main choice for a leader, or of course you have Hit, who also has the 3 key and 170% to all the stats. He does immense damage, has a medium chance to stun. He does nerf the enemy's attack a little bit when he hits them. He has a high chance to stun for 1 turn, so he has multiple stun procs that could go off. And then he gets attacks effective against all types when the target enemy is stunned. Now, unfortunately, Hit's biggest problem has always been his lack of defense. So I do think he can be useful on the team, even if you are running Kefla as the leader, maybe as like a 3rd slot floating unit. But he is probably going to be most effective as a stunner, as a 3rd slot unit. Even if you do bring him as the leader. But he can still be useful. I don't think he's completely worthless here. So he could be worth a try, especially if you need to fill that final slot on the team. So then we have this Caulifla. The only reason she comes up so early is because she also has a Universe 6 leader skill for 120. If you have to use her as like a sub-leader if you don't have Kefla or Hit. She raises attack and defense on Super, does supreme damage. Now, she's pretty good. Her passive is very long. Attack and defense 80%, chance of evading enemies attack 8% per Universe 6 or Peppy Gal's ally on the team, which obviously stacks up the more Kales and Cauliflas you bring. But the important part is, when there is a Universe Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan's category enemy, launches an additional attack that has a medium chance of becoming a Super when there is an ally whose name includes Kale. I missed the first part. Evades enemies' attacks when there is a Universe Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan's enemy. There you go. So the first 2 fights, as long as you keep a Universe Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan enemy alive, which is almost all of them in those 2 fights anyway, she has a 100% chance to dodge. And then if you have Kale on the turn, then she does the additional super that additional attack that has a medium chance to become a super attack. So for those first 2 stages, she will be an absolute goddess, like unable to be touched. But then you've got to be careful when you get into fight 3, because Beerus and Whis are not Pure Saiyans or Universe Survival Saga enemies. And of course, Beerus is INT, so he will have type advantage over her. Now, if you've built your team full of basically the Peppy Gal's versions of Universe 6 characters, she is still going to have a very high chance to dodge, but you probably want to keep her out of the way of Beerus's attacks in the 3rd fight. So then we go on to Vados. Vados is another Universe 6 fill-in leader. She's very good to bring on the team in general anyway. She's very much like the Toa. She lowers attack, seals. She has a fairly decent attack and defense. And then she has a built-in 50% chance to dodge, which is obviously very good. And then she buffs Universe 6, Realm of Gods, Siblings Bond, or Bond of Master and Disciple, attack and defense 20%. If units are in multiple categories, they get multiple stacks of the buff. But I don't think anyone else on this team is, apart from maybe the physical Champa, if you choose to bring him. And then she changes a random key sphere to Rainbow if there is a Universe 6 ally in the same turn, which obviously on this team there will be, because you can only bring Universe 6 units. So she's very good to bring as a support unit, just like the Whis. Having the 50% chance to dodge just makes her really, really good as well. So I definitely would recommend bringing her. Then we have Champa, another Universe 6. So as you can see, there's a lot of options for 120 Universe 6 leaders. So you do really want to have Kefla or Hit, but if you don't, then you are covered in terms of a sub leader. So this guy gives Universe 6 allies 2 key and 40% attack and defense. He has a medium chance of attack at 200, which is not very good. So he's not a very good unit overall. So I'm kind of glad they gave him this 40% support thing, because I would really just use him as a third slot floating support unit. So I think that almost covers. Does that cover all the sub leaders? Yeah, it does. So then we get on to Super Saiyan Cabba. I put him here because obviously if you are running Kefla, having these two on rotation together is going to be pretty crazy, because he changes orbs to STR, which is going to make it easier to get 6 orbs for Kefla and get her dodging ability to go off, which is cool. And then, of course, he's providing a 50% attack and defensive buff to her. So she's going to go off if you have Cabba on the rotation. So you could run him on main rotation. Obviously, if you float him off, there's not a huge amount of other STR units on the team that we're going to talk about. And of course, remember that you do need to pick up a pretty substantial amount of orbs with him if you want him to be able to defend well. But I do think he can be a good pick for the team, especially if you're running Kefla, because he's going to give her a massive boost in power and defense. So then finally, we get onto these guys. I didn't forget about them. Maybe they should have been earlier on in the video, because they are going to be one of the most powerful units on the team. But of course we have the STR Kale and Caulifla. So at one point, by far the best unit in the game. And obviously, because of the way their passive works, we are fighting Universe Survival Saga and Pure Saiyan enemies. So in the first 2 fights, these guys are going to be doing like 4 super attacks every turn. They raise their defense with every super. They get a dodge chance, which goes up with every super. So these guys are going to be the absolute MVP for the first 2 fights. They're still going to be good in the final fight as well. They're just not getting all of those extra bonuses. They always launch an additional normal attack. And then, of course, if you have hidden potential investment, you might be able to get the other super to go off as well. So they can still attack multiple times, which then increases their built-in dodge chance as well as raising their defense on super. So I think it kind of goes without saying that these guys, if you have them, are an auto-include on the team for this stage. So then we go on to the Caulifla, who finally got her EZA on Global. She's really good for Super Battle Road after her EZA. She raises defense by 60% for 3 turns, so that can stack multiple times, which is good. And then, of course, she has a built-in 50% chance to dodge. If the attack is a super attack, she does have a chance to counter it. Both of those get rolled. I'm assuming it rolls the super attack counter chance first. So if the enemy super attacks her, she has a chance to counter. Even if she doesn't counter, she still has a chance to dodge. So that is really good. And then she has attacks effective against all types when there is an ally whose name includes Kale on the same turn. So obviously that's going to help her out in terms of dealing damage to the various enemies throughout the different stages. And even if she doesn't dodge, once she's super attacked a couple of times, her defense is going to be incredibly high. So she is definitely a top pick for Super Battle Road. Then we have the INT Kale, free-to-play one. She's a support unit. Universe Survival Saga allies 2 key and 30% attack and defense. Defense 50% when there is an ally whose name includes Caulifla on the team, which of course there probably will be. All allies key +1, attack and defense 10% if that ally is attacking in the same turn. So if you have a Caulifla on both rotations and then you use this Kale as a support unit floating in the third slot, that last part of her passive is always going to be active, so she's going to be providing a very big buff to the team. She's not the best defensively or offensively, but I think she's a good pick to bring as a third slot floater to buff the power of the rest of the team. So then we have the STR Kale, the one that goes along with the TEQ Caulifla. She doesn't have a Universe 6 leader skill, so she didn't come up as early in the list, but she also raises attack and defense on super. She gets extra attack and defense per Pure Saiyan or Peppy Gal's ally on the team, which obviously is a lot of the units that we've talked about so far. She then gets guaranteed additional supers when there are the Universe Survival or Pure Saiyans enemies, so that's going to be very helpful in those early fights. And then she guards all attacks in the same turn that you have an ally named Caulifla attacking in that turn. So that's also really good, because she can get a very high defensive stat if you've got a lot of Pure Saiyans and Peppy Gals on the team, and then she guards all attacks. So, for example, if you are bringing the TEQ Caulifla when you get to that final stage with the INT Beerus, you can hopefully get into a situation where you can just put this Kale in front of Beerus's attacks, and then she's going to guard them whilst having a pretty high level of defense. So she is a very good pick as well. Then we have the EZA Physical Kale. Again, she's a unit like Caulifla, really good for Super Battle Road after her EZA, because she has a very high attack, she can launch additional supers, and then she reduces damage received by 60% for 6 turns. And then after 6 turns you can still do it as long as you pick up physical orbs. But on Super Battle Road you're probably not going to go longer than 6 turns, as we've mentioned in the other videos. So she's probably going to have that 60% damage reduction available the whole time. And I did a video with her recently on the Universe Survival Saga stage, and even with no items active, she barely takes any damage once this, as long as this passive is active. So she's really good, very good defensively, and can put out like over 2 million attack stats as well. So her and the EZA Caulifla together are incredibly powerful. One thing to bear in mind as well, she doesn't have any part of her passive that requires a Caulifla to be on rotation, so you're a little bit more free with how you use her if you use her on the team. And then the final one I thought we'd talk about, just to give a little shout out to our boy, the Bota Magetta. He is actually okay, because when your HP drops below 80%, which is very common in Super Battle Road, he guards all attacks, and he has 100% defense from the start of the turn, as well as raising his defense when he super attacks, and that can stack multiple times. So if he's super attacked a couple of times and you're under 80% HP, he can actually take double digit damage with no items active. So he can be a decent choice to bring as well, but I think all the like Saiyan girls and everything that we've talked about so far definitely take precedence over him. So if we go back to the list, obviously there's a free to play Vados, but she's just not as good as the INT one. The free to play Champa's pretty bad. TEQ Cabba is not very good either, but obviously if you're free to play, it's someone else to fill in the slot. This hit is probably one of the best hits, but there's no real other extreme STR units. You do not want to run this Frost, he is terrible. INT hit's pretty bad. The free to play Caulifla that goes alongside that Kale is not terrible, but again, like the AGL EZA one is just better than her. And then Physical Kefla, there is no other named Kefla on the team because the STR one starts out as base, but because this one is super old and really needs an EZA, she's not really that good. She does have a built-in chance to dodge, but if she doesn't dodge, she's going to be taking a ton of damage. But I guess, again, if you do need to fill a final slot on the team, you could bring her. And then I guess the Namekians we didn't really talk about because they don't have a TUR. They can be okay because you do have a full Universe 6 team, so they're going to be getting a pretty decent attack and defense buff. But there's no other Namekians on the team, so they're not going to be fully maxed out. But they could be pretty decent as like an honourable mention, I guess. And then I think that pretty much covers us. Oh no, wait, we've got the free-to-play Kale and Caulifla from the World Tournament as well, but then they take the place of the TEQ Caulifla and the STR Kale, who I would say are definitely much better. So there you go. Just like representatives of Universe 7, as we said at the beginning, we kind of covered most of the TURs because they are all good, because there's not that many, essentially, that you would want to bring on a Super Battle Road team. But I think we covered basically everyone who is good for Super Battle Road. But as I said at the beginning, if there's anyone you think I missed or should have talked about in more detail, let me know in the comment section down below and we can continue the discussion there. Or you can feel free to join the Discord. The link is in the description. We have team building sections over there as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.